You open your eyes. Soft light climbs the walls of a room that woke up before you did, warming from deep blue to gold as it senses you stir. It is the year 2222. You are 194 years old, and this morning, like every morning, you have never felt more 30. You were born in 2028. That is 2 centuries of mornings, and yet your body has never once kept score. Somewhere in the last 100 years, humanity quietly stopped treating aging as a fate to be accepted and started treating it as a bug to be fixed. But here is the part that would stop your ancestors cold. The machine that keeps you young was already being switched on in the year you would call today. In 2026, scientists ran the first human trials of partial cellular reprogramming, gently coaxing worn-out cells to behave young again, without erasing what made them yours. In the same labs, drugs called senolytics were clearing away the aged, damaged cells that make a body feel old. To the people of that time, it read like pure science fiction. It was really the rough first draft of the very thing now holding your age perfectly still. Think about what that really means. For every single generation that came before yours, aging was the one appointment nobody could ever cancel. It was the shape of every story, every plan, every goodbye. Your century was the first to look at that appointment and simply move it again and again and again. You think good morning and the room answers you. No screen lights up. No word is spoken aloud. Only intention. A thread thinner than a single human hair reads the faint electrical whisper of your thoughts, and the house quietly responds. Coffee begins to brew. A blank wall softens and becomes a window looking out over any city on earth you feel like waking up beside. This is not magic, and it did not begin in your century. In 2026, a company called Neuralink already had more than 24 people steering computers with thought alone, and a man who could not move his body played chess and moved a cursor just by imagining the motion. Another company, Synchron, was threading its device in through a blood vessel. 200 years later, that same fragile idea is simply how you say good morning to your home. A figure steps through the doorway carrying your breakfast. It is not human, and you honestly stopped noticing that fact decades ago. It moves like a dancer, it folds the laundry without being asked, and it knows without checking that you take your tea strong. It is as unremarkable to you now as a dishwasher or a washing machine was to your great-great-grandparents. The first of these walked straight out of factories in your own time. In 2026, humanoid robots from Tesla and a company called Figure were already sorting parts and hauling boxes on real assembly lines, learning to walk among people. They were slow, expensive, and absolutely astonishing. Give that clumsy idea 2 full centuries to grow up, and one of them ends up living quietly in every single home. Breakfast smells exactly like bacon. It is bacon right down to the last molecule, and yet no animal ever lived or suffered or died for it. It grew in a tower on the edge of the city, in a garden that never sees soil or rain or a single change of weather. And the reason that one plate matters is far, far bigger than the meal in front of you. In 2026, cultivated meat, grown from cells instead of livestock, had already passed its first safety approvals, and factories the size of breweries were being drawn up. By your century, food quietly moved indoors and upward into towers and tanks, and most of the vast land your ancestors once cleared and ploughed has been handed gently back to forest, to grassland, and to the wild animals that were there long before us. You glance out at the skyline. There is no smoke, no wires humming with that old, familiar anxiety of running out. The entire city drinks its power from just a handful of quiet, unremarkable buildings, and each one holds a small, perfectly contained star. Fusion, the very same reaction that lights up the sun, finally tamed, boxed, and sold by the kilowatt hour. You lived right at the hinge of all of this. In 2026, companies like Helion and Commonwealth Fusion were racing to build the first reactors ever meant to sell real electricity onto the grid, and one of them promised power within just a few years. They were late, they were over budget, and in the end they were completely right. Cheap, almost limitless energy is the silent engine humming underneath every other wonder in your day. You do still have work, though the word itself has gone soft around the edges. You do not type, and you certainly do not commute. Instead, you direct. A dozen tireless minds, artificial, endlessly patient, brilliant in their own narrow ways, wait quietly for your judgment on the handful of problems that actually matter. You are far less a worker now, and far more a conductor standing in front of an orchestra. In your time, this enormous shift had only just begun. 2026 was the year software stopped merely answering questions and started actually doing tasks entirely on its own, booking, building, and deciding. People argued long and loud about whether it would swallow every job on Earth. What it actually swallowed in the end was the drudgery, and it left the deciding, the taste, and the meaning firmly to you. And here is the thing that almost no one back in 2026 could quite bring themselves to believe. None of this feels like the future to you. It just feels like a Tuesday. Every single wonder turns into wallpaper the very instant it becomes reliable. Your ancestors would weep at your perfectly ordinary morning. You barely even look up from your tea. And that figure in the doorway, the breakfast, the thread resting in your skull, there is one last thing that would have truly stopped your century in its tracks. Every memory you have ever made is being quietly copied, mapped out neuron by neuron, and held somewhere safe. The self that woke up in this room this morning no longer depends entirely on the fragile body it happened to wake up inside. In 2026, scientists had only just finished mapping the complete wiring of a single fruit fly brain, every last connection, all 140,000 neurons. At the time, it was hailed as a landmark. A human brain is very roughly 1,000,000 times more tangled than that. 2 full centuries of that same patient, painstaking work is the exact reason your memories, here in 2222, can finally outlive your body. It is not a paradise, and you understand that better than anyone. A world that can read a thought can just as easily record one. A life with no limits has to keep on inventing its own reasons to get out of bed each morning. Every single gift woven quietly through your day arrived wrapped in a real risk, one that your ancestors argued about fiercely, in real rooms, in the exact year you would call right now. But strip away the star in the box, and the mind held in the cloud, and the machine that folds your laundry, and the shape of a single human day stays stubbornly, beautifully familiar. You wake, you eat, you make something with your hands or your mind, and you quietly wonder whether any of it truly mattered. 200 years of unbroken miracles, and the very oldest questions did not go anywhere at all. 196 years separate your 2026 from this quiet 2222. And that is not some fantasy pulled out of thin air. It is a single straight line, drawn carefully through experiments that are happening right now, this very month, all of them within reach of anyone hearing these exact words. Next time we start much closer to home, in the year 2050, the world your own children will genuinely wake up in. Subscribe to walk into the future with us, and a free field guide to what is already real today is waiting for you down in the description. Because the future is not coming for you. You are already standing in its very first hour.